All right, everybody, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 311. We got a special guest today, huh, Mike?
We sure do.
We've got Scott McCarron, PGA TOUR Champions Player of the Year. We're going to bring him on. It's actually kind of funny. You've got a great backstory, so I'll let you tell it about how you first connected with him. It's a tremendous story. I love it, hearing it every time. So that's going to be really fun. You know, he's the winner of the 2019 Charles Schwab Cup, so stay tuned for that. We're also going to talk in our Twitter tap-in segment. We're going to talk about what's the most expensive round of golf you've ever played. It's a good one. Then, would you do it again?
It's a good one.
That's
I like
the key.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do
that
it
is
again?
the key.
Because a lot of people, like, you know, they bit the bill.
One and done.
They one and done. They one and done. So we got a lot of great responses from that. I'm really excited to jump through those in a second. That's going to be fun. But Mike, tell us a little bit about Scott McCarron.
Yeah, so Scott McCarron, I was watching Golf Channel not long ago, and, you know, the morning drive, and Paige McKenzie, one of the anchors there, she puts out this tweet saying that, like, the best finish of the year was Scott McCarron's finish on the PGA Champions Tour. The way that he won the Charles Schwab Cup. And if you didn't see it, definitely just Google search the shot. I mean, Scott, who we're bringing on the show today, he basically won the Charles Schwab Cup, which is equivalent to the FedEx Cup on PGA Tour.
Right.
He won it as a result of Jeff Maggert holing out on the 18th hole for eagle,
right,
while Scott was up in the booth with all these greats just drinking wine. Now, I think he maybe knew going into that shot, like, hey, if he holds it here, you're going to win. Or maybe he did.
I mean, it's such an off chance.
It's like a mathematical
fun crossing his mind.
I don't know, but I think with all the stats and mathematical things, that
we got to ask him.
So I'm going to ask him, absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, I shouted out and said, you know, I just made a joke about the one. Here it is, right here, pulling up the tweet. I said, I'd agree, Paige. It was a pretty cool way to end a season. Imagine sipping a nice red wine to watch that unfold on a TV right in front of you. And Scott tweeted right back, thanks, Michael. Could have been the best wine I've ever had. Yeah, definitely. So connected with him there. We started talking, said, love to have you on the show, love to talk about it. And, you know, here he comes.
And here we are. Yeah, so we won't keep him waiting too long. We're going to bring him on in a second. But I want to dive into this Twitter tap-in segment because I think we got some great answers here. I want to get your take on it as well. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Titleist. Guys, the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X have been redesigned for more speed, more precision, more consistency than ever before. If you got a chance to watch the ball fitting that we went through, you saw that we each got to take advantage of a different aspect of the way that the balls perform. And they perform differently for that reason, something to match with every golfer. So if you know, the Pro V1 has a slightly softer feel and a little bit of a lower flight versus the Pro V1X. The Pro V1X flies a little bit higher, a little bit more spin, and a little bit of a firmer feel. And I saw that. We worked a lot about the angle that the ball was coming into the green, and we found that when testing one versus the other, which I always think that's the best thing you can do is try the different ones. The Pro V1X was coming in a little bit too steep for me. And then as we found that was leaving my proximity to the pin a little bit further. So the Goldilocks spot for me, like the perfect spot was the Pro V1. You, on the other hand, I fly the ball naturally a little bit higher. Your trajectory is a little bit lower. You got a little bit more height out of
it. The so I can hold those greens.
Right. And then your stopping power came up. So it's some things about golf balls that honestly, until we started to really dig into those fittings, I had never thought about before.
Same.
You know, I thought things like feel and distance, but things like trajectory and spin and stuff like that, you know, it was a really important lesson. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check out that video, definitely check it out. But I would implore you to definitely take a sleeve of each. Check out the Pro V1. Check out the Pro V1X. Find out which one performs better for you. Find out, work around, the greens and see what's the spin and the feel and the firmness. Because, like I said, there's going to be something in there for every golfer. So prove how good you can be. Tee up the new Pro V1 or Pro V1X on your next round.
By the way, Frank, with that, it was weird when we played with Andrew Jensen and Zach Radford in Florida.
Yeah.
When we did the alt shot.
Yes.
It was weird to stand over a different ball. I mean, we're not pros.
Yeah.
We're not pros at all. But when you get so confident and comfortable, with that ball fitting, it was a weird feeling, like standing over that, right? It was
right. Look, you and I both come from guys who would play any golf ball we found.
Right?
Anything
we found, we threw it down.
Whether we found in the woods or we found a deal on the shelf,
exactly.
That's what we were playing.
Right.
And then as we started to dial in ball, find just like the fitting we did for the equipment. As we started to get fit for different golf balls, you start to play it, you start to gain confidence, and you start to you get that feel and you get whatever. And then is when you realize how much it does difference from ball to ball, because you play another ball and you realize it's like kind of hitting a moving target.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I can't go backwards. I can't go to just playing any ball because I lose that confidence.
Sure.
And this is what that gives me, is that confidence. Sure. So our Twitter tap-in segment is presented by Therapist Preferred. Guys, Therapist Preferred offers a large array of THC-free, organically grown, made in the USA CBD products, creams, melatonin CBD capsules, tinctures, gummies, you name it. You can visit their site at therapistpreferred.com and use the code Golficity20 for 20% off all products. Follow them. They're friends of the show. You can find them at Therapist Preferred on IG, Facebook, Twitter. Guys, go check them out. So let's read off this question. So for our Twitter tap-in, which if you guys aren't already following us on Twitter, make sure you do so because we're going to put these out every week to get your feedback.
I'm loving Twitter tapping.
This is a lot of fun, you know, and I have fun just reading them as we're leading up to the show as well. So we said, what is the most you ever paid for a round of golf, and would you do it again? So what do you got here, Mike? Any good responses?
There's a lot. I mean, I like to start at the top. Roger K, 149. He doesn't really, does he shot the course?
Let's see. 149.
Would pay it again, but not at that price. So he shouted about Torrey Pines, PGA Tour, West, TPC course, etc.
He's saying he would pay that much for those rounds. Yeah, no, he kept it. He kept it under the collar. Who the shirt? Who was he paid that for? But yeah. Look, I mean, I'm seeing most of these numbers are 150 and
150. I'm seeing a lot of 150s.
Right? I
300
butcher this last name, Mike Hamarwick.
No,
not even close.
That can't be right. I'm going to go with Romowick. Mike Hromowick.
HROMOWYK. If you guys can pronounce that at home better than me, then God
I'm
bless.
99.9 on that.
And Mike says 300 at Kiowa. Yes, I'd probably do it again. And that just bothers me because it means he got a better deal than I did at Kiowa.
He got a discount. Is that Twilight?
I don't know. I played it in the height of the season. It was 400 plus 100 for caddy, and I would 100% do it again, wallet permitting.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
I'd have to maybe save up a month or two before that, so my wife didn't kill me.
Yep.
But Kiowa was a special place.
Absolutely.
But you know what? The other thing too is if you guys are looking to play Kiowa, and I would say this is a rule of thumb for all the courses, would be if you are a veteran, call ahead, military vet or active military, active duty, call ahead because Kiowa definitely had a reduced rate, and it was like significantly reduced. I think it was like $97 for active military.
That's incredible.
So I would say that's a little trick. If you guys are, first of all, thank you for your service. Second of all, you might as well take advantage of it. If you're active military or whatever, call and ask if they've got any discount.
That's actually pretty nice.
This one's my favorite response out of the whole thing. Joe Calango.
Oh, Frank Colangelo. We're gonna get you Frank's gonna go to name school. It's gonna be like a 6-part series.
All right, now let me get real for you guys for a second. The reality is, this is here. Frank's 2 cents. A little known fact about Frank. I had to go back in 8th grade and relearn phonics.
Oh, wow.
Wait, listen, because they realized I had gotten to 8th grade and hadn't properly learned it. Something happened where I just so I was like in 8th grade and I was reading it like a 3rd grade level, right?
Yep.
But now I love reading. I pride myself on my reading, but I still can't sound things out for anything. I mean, we're talking flashcards.
It's incredible.
Like
Calango. Hey, Joey Calango. It's incredible. It's not even close.
Flashcards with like apples on them. Frank, what's this? Apple. Right.
Yes.
Anyway, Joe says, I'm no dummy. My wife will see this. And he goes, I plead the 5th.
I love it. Perfect.
That was hilarious.
Jeff chimes in below him. He says this. He agrees. He's not going to shout it out. Here's some ones. 300, what is that, pounds?
300 pound, yeah.
For Wentworth. So that's about, what, 375 US, give or take?
This is my favorite part, is that it seems like I don't think I saw one response where someone said they wouldn't do it again.
Well, there's not many one and dones. I mean, actually, I think the biggest one and done would be Pebble Beach.
Yeah. Well,
like nobody's going to Pebble and then going back, right?
Bob Golf says $650 for Pebble. He goes, hell yes, every year if I get the chance.
Okay, so Bob just proved me wrong right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he says he's paying $400 for the Ocean course in April. He goes, that one worries me. It's such a brute. I may not want to go back. I'm not into pain.
Yeah.
You know what it is? But it's like, it beats you up in a very memorable way. Like, it was very tough, especially when the wind is up. But the beauty and like the respect for what Pete Dye did there, and plus, I think the other thing that adds to that formula is the staff there was so cool, from the caddies to everybody else. But I think this just really speaks to something. Everyone here saying that yes, that they would do it again is showing that these golf courses are giving the experience that people are after.
Correct.
There's no buyer remorse. There's no regret. It'd be like, oh, I paid all this money and that place was junk. You know,
right.
It just, that to me is, I think that's important. That's a really great thing. Let's see, Tobacco Road. That's a place we got to get to.
Yes, we got to get there. We're going to be close to that when we're in Pinehurst, but I don't know if we're going to have time to play it. Stream Song 240, absolutely would do it again. For me, it was the probably the old course. I think when it converted over to US, it ended up being over $300. And I would honestly set up a $1,200 a month piggy bank to play that every Saturday.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. Well, the remarkable thing about the old course is if you live there and you're
it's not going to be that
town,
much at all.
It's much less. It's subsidized by all of us tourists who go in and pay the money.
Sure.
Here we have another one. My pronunciation. Kush says old course, and yes, absolutely. And that's the thing we said even when we were over there was, and I thought it was cool. What was the rate we paid for the old course? About $275? Did you say?
It was $275. Pounds.
So
euros. Pounds.
Right. So converted, It was probably like 300, something like that.
It was like 320, 330 US. Yeah.
So even though that's a lot,
and then caddies, and
the reality is, and as they said, a course like that can charge any number.
Sure.
And they would get it. So there's tee times books as far in advance. I mean, people wait there overnight every single day just to get out there. Right. And during the height of the season, it's light out, from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And there are literally people teeing off every 10 minutes or so, every 7 minutes from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Yep.
You realize how many foursomes move through there. And then that makes you realize that they could literally charge whatever and they would get it. So I think that is something that, it's an expensive rate, but it's a fair rate.
Yes,
it's a fair,
definitely.
And I like that they keep that fair.
It would be interesting. I know we're running out of time, so we want to get Scott on the line.
Yeah, we got to
here.
get Scott going.
But imagine if Augusta went public for a month and charged $5,000 per tee time.
Oh, it would sell out in a second.
Of course, it would sell out. But think how much money.
Oh yeah.
That would bring in. Right. Maybe 10,000.
That's why it's good sometimes that these courses don't need the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's my takeaway. My takeaway is I like that everyone said that they wanted to.
It's cool.
Do it again.
I love these guys. Thanks for shooting in the Twitter tap-ins. Keep them going.
Keep them coming.
Appreciate it.
Let's do a quick word from our sponsor, and then we're gonna bring Scott on the phone. First of all, big thanks to ShotScope, guys. If you listen to the podcast regularly, you've heard us talk a lot about ShotScope. Look at this. It's 2020. We're living in the future, right? Mm-hmm. You now are in a situation where you can pay $119 for something you strap to your wrist, and it tracks every single shot you take on the golf course every single time, and you can go back as many years as long as you've been wearing the watch. That to me is a remarkable thing. If you guys listen to the show regularly, we're regular golfers just like you. We're not pros. We like to have a good time out there, but we like to try to work on our game too. Mm-hmm. And this lets us do both. It's got that great GPS that you can use when you're out on the course, but afterwards we can go through, we can take our time with it to look at the stats. We can show them to our coach. Even that, we're learning stats as we go. We may not know them as well as a professional golfer who can hone in on exactly what he needs to do. The app helps you with that. It shows you areas where you need to improve. So it's a remarkable piece of equipment. It's a remarkable piece of technology. And to me, it's great to see the development of something like this in the game, I guess, especially at that price. So go to shotscope.com/Golficity, check out the V2, look at the incredible deal that they've got going on right now, $119. And when you get your ShotScope, make sure you join the Golficity leaderboard because it's a way that we can all compete and we can have fun. And we've got those leaderboards. I love watching those through the season. Longest drive, all this type of stuff. It's all on the leaderboards for the Golficity leaderboard. So big thanks to ShotScope for sponsoring this episode.
Track the stats, guys. Track them.
That's it.
And guys, want to thank Footjoy. It's no secret that the Footjoy Flex has been one of the best-selling shoes in the game for the last few years. You can literally wear these things everywhere. I mean, we do. Yeah. They have versions that are completely redesigned.
You wearing yours?
Am I using mine? Yeah, I'm wearing mine. I'm wearing the waterproof ones, which I'm about to talk about. The XP offers completely new lightweight performance mesh, completely waterproof, super comfortable, and it's built on the popular FJ Flex that, Frank, you're wearing there. It provides excellent grip out on the course, guys. Believe it or not, without spikes, it actually has got pretty good grip. I wear it in the gym on turf mats.
I wear them on the old course.
Grocery store.
I wore them at King's Barnes.
King's
Grocery store.
Old Course, grocery store, King's Barnes, Walmart. So you can wear them anywhere. Basically what we're trying to say. Hit a bucket of balls on the range, you name it, clubhouse. Guys, check them out. Footjoy.com. What was it? The Flex XP is the waterproof. I don't want to screw this up.
Yes,
XP is the waterproof, and just straight up Flex. They're both awesome. Check it out. Footjoy.com.
All right, let's bring Scott on the show.
Let's do it. All right, on the line, we have the 2019 Charles Schwab Cup champion, who also was recently awarded the Arnold Palmer Award for the Champs Tour Money List winner and the Jack Nicklaus Award for Player of the Year on the Champs Tour. Folks, please welcome Scott McCarron to the Golf Podcast. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How we doing?
Doing all right. I mean, will that title or intro ever get old?
It's a mouthful, that's for sure.
I mean, seriously.
No, I think it's great. Matter of fact, every morning I wake up, I make my wife say the same thing.
I thought you were going to say you pour coffee in the cup, because we were just talking about that. We said, I wonder if Scott's ready for the interview, maybe after there's a cup of coffee out of the cup. But speaking of that, what has these last 3 months been like for you? It's got to be pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, it's been great. I mean, it was quite an end of the year. I mean, to have Jeff Maggert and Retief Goosen go into a playoff with the tournament hanging in the balance, and then the whole Schwab Cup hanging in the balance. And it was just an incredible way, an incredible finish by Jeff Maggert. And fortunately for me, I was on the good receiving end of that, and ended up winning the Schwab Cup, which I'd played pretty well all year with 3 wins and 14 top 10. So I certainly, had played well enough to win the Schwab Cup, but to have it end the way it did was just incredible. And, Jeff Maggert, actually, it was his birthday just a couple days ago, and I wished him a happy birthday as my favorite Champions Tour player now.
I bet. And what people don't realize is that actually Maggert had to birdie on 18 before the eagle. No, on 17, correct?
He had to birdie 18.
He had to birdie 18. That was it. And then
into the playoff.
The playoff was the eagle. Correct. Yeah. And that's amazing.
It was It was incredible. And it was a great birdie he made on 18 to get in the playoff. He made about a 10-footer straight up the hill. But then he made another great birdie to stay in the playoff. I mean, they played 2 holes first before that hole-out shot in his 3rd playoff hole on the 17th hole. And he just made 2 incredible birdies to keep it going. And Retief had missed about a 3.5-footer that everybody thought he was going to make. I actually had the same putt earlier in the day and missed it left. It didn't break right. So when he had that putt, I said, this actually fooled me. Maybe it'll fool him. And fortunately for me, it did.
Yeah, it sure did. And I want to talk about that moment, because the moment you won the cup, I mean, you mentioned in an interview right after, I recall you saying something like, you can't write this. I mean, take us through the moment you walked off the green and you were just waiting it out. How did that progress?
Yeah, it was, I had about an hour or so to wait for the guys to come and finish, because I hadn't played that well. So I finished a little earlier. And, at that time, I didn't feel, I felt like Retief Goosen was probably going to win it. I was going to lose the Schwab Cup. And, that's the way it went. And, so I was a little bummed, to be honest. And then Jeff Maggert made a great up and down save on 15, made a putt from off the green, and he birdied, I think 16, and then birdied 18 to get in the playoffs. So at least there, I thought I had a chance. But again, you never know. You got Retief Goosen, a Hall of Fame guy, playing a par 5 that he can reach against Jeff Maggert, who very straight hitter, but might not be able to reach 18. So certainly was advantage Retief. So at that point, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I was waiting in the player dining with a lot of the players that stayed around to see how this was going to shake out. The camera was on, so I couldn't really react to anything that was going on.
Sure, right.
I just tried to be really calm about it. But there was a point where it really looked like Retief was going to win in the playoff, and so I left. I went actually out into the locker room, cleaned out my locker, went out to my car, put my stuff in the car, and just sat in the parking lot by myself, just kind of contemplating the whole year. And after a couple minutes, I'm like, you can't just have the Schwab Cup win or lose, and you can't be sitting in the parking lot by yourself. You got to go back in there and take it like a man. If you're going to lose,
right.
That's the way it is.
Right.
And so I went back up into the player dining, and Miguel and Alamenez said, "Come on, let's drink a bottle of wine." I'm like, "All right, let's do it." So we went on the balcony, had a nice rojo, and Bernard Langer came out, Jerry Kelly, Tim Petrovic, Billy Andre, Doug Barron, and we were all just kind of drinking a glass of wine and toasting. And the camera happened to be there, kind of showing all of us, having a good time. And Miguel started making a speech and, talking about, we still don't know what Miguel said, but he made a real nice speech. Nobody can understand him.
Right.
And then Langer said, Langer said, Scott, you played better than anybody all year. You got to take ownership that, you played the best. It might not go your way, but, you got to know that you had a great year. And at that time, Retief was in the bunker on 17, and I could see it through the window in the player dining. And he hit a great shot, and I heard some clapping out on 17 from where we were on the balcony, which was about 600 yards away or so. And right at that moment, I heard a huge roar, and I knew that Maggert had done something special. And so I looked back into the TV in the player dining, which had about a 20-second delay, and Maggert was over the shot. And
so you had to feel
I could still hear the roar going out on the golf course.
Yeah.
So at that point, I actually thought he made it. And then I saw him hit the shot. I didn't see it go in because everyone erupted, was jumping up in front of the TV, so I couldn't see. And then it was just kind of pandemonium. Everybody just coming out and hugging and high-fiving, and it was quite a scene after.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And, I got to ask you, what was the wine you were drinking? Do you recall?
It was a Spanish wine. Yeah, it was. I don't know exactly the name of the wine. It was a Spanish Rojo. Miguel likes the Spanish wines. I grew up in Napa Valley, so I like the Napa Valley wines, but I don't even remember how it tasted. I just remember I was drinking extremely fast.
Yeah, I bet. And the Maggert, I'm assuming something nice was sent to him. I got to ask you that.
Oh yeah, we sent him a really nice case of wine from a very small winemaker in Napa that not many people can get. So it was a special wine. Maggert seems to think it should be a weekly thing. He doesn't know I haven't made enough money this year to afford another case.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can play a little bit better here in the next couple of weeks. You never know. I might give him another bottle or something.
Yeah, definitely. That's so cool. So just switch gears a little bit. I want to talk real quick. I mean, you finished 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and now 1st in the Schwab Cup race. I mean, this is a goal I'm sure you've set out, especially at the beginning of last season, and you did it. So once you hit the goal, a goal as huge as that, how do you improve on it heading into 2020?
Yeah, that's a great question because, it's not easy to repeat and to keep going. I'm looking at Bernard Langer and what he's done over the last 8 years. It's been incredible. Each year he gets up and ready to play. And, I think a lot of guys, it's difficult once you win that goal of winning whatever, a Schwab Cup or a FedEx Cup. How do you keep it going? For me, I rested a lot over the off season, didn't really practice and play much. Living in North Carolina, the weather wasn't great, so it was a nice time to kind of just be rested and ready to go. Instead, start setting goals and start doing the things you need to do, eating right, working out, practicing, all those things to get yourself in that position. Again, it doesn't guarantee anything. You're just trying to give yourself the best chance.
Sure.
But, I still have a lot I want to accomplish. When I first got on the Champions Tour, I'd won an event in Boca, and the next day I'd gone over and done a Pro-Am for Jack Nicklaus and got to have dinner at Jack and Barbara's house afterwards. And Jack pulled me aside and he said, I have one regret. I wish I would have played more on the PGA Tour Champions because it was so much fun. I loved playing and competing with my friends that I had competed with all those years because once it's over, it's over. There's no going back. And I've really kind of taken that to heart, meaning put everything you can into this because there is a finite time where I won't be able to do this anymore, whether it's at 60, 62, 65, whatever it may be, there will come a time where I won't be competitive anymore. So do everything you can to make the most out of this situation now. And so, I'm trying to do that and working hard just like I always have. And I'm telling you what, I'm having fun. This Champions Tour is so much fun. I get to play against Hall of Famers and legends and guys I've been playing against for 20, 30 years. And it's very, very competitive. These guys can still flat out play. And we get to play in front of people and have TV. And, I feel exactly the same trying to win a tournament on the Champions Tour as I did on the regular tour. It's really a lot of fun.
And Scott, hopefully that's a long way off when you are not able to play, as you mentioned before, anymore. Hopefully that's a long way off down the road. But coming from someone And we talk a lot on the podcast about how this is a game that you can play for so long, for so many decades, as long as you stay healthy. For someone who has excelled at the game for as long as you have, and someone who has obviously learned so much about the game over that time, what is it do you find that you focus on? We chatted a little bit about this before, but what do you find it is that motivates you to keep getting better? And also, what do you focus on? Like, how do you feel that you can continue to improve? Even when, like I said, you've done so much with the game and you've reached such a high level, like what are the things that you focus on to try to get better?
Well, you're focused on every aspect of your game. I mean, where can I get better? Can I get better from 120 yards and in? Can I get better with the short game, bunker play? You try to dissect some of the stuff that you've been doing, and how am I able to do that and formulate a plan? I also think you got to stay, at my age, especially now, you got to stay healthy. How can I stay strong? How can I stay mobile, flexible, as I'm getting older? I mean, I feel at 54, I'm stronger than I was when I was at 48.
Wow.
So I'm working out more. I'm doing more mobility type exercises and those type of things to stay in good shape. So, you got to continue it because, nobody's beaten Father Time. He's undefeated. So I gotta keep trying to hold him at bay as long as I can. And again, you look at things that I did last year. I won 3 times. I felt like I should have won 5 times, or 6 times. Right. And I had a chance to win the Byron Nelson Award for scoring average, but I lost that in the last week and a half. Oh. I'd like to lead the scoring average on tour. I mean, those little type of things and goals that you can kind of set for yourself and start working to achieve and find out how can I get better in, just a little bit in some of these other aspects. You can have even a better year. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, 11 wins since 2015 on the tour, 3 new trophies you just got. Like you said, you just missed out on the Byron, but we're sure that trophy case for you is going to keep filling up for years to come. So I want to switch gears, Scott. I mean, I want to talk about, you had a funny story. I heard you talk recently about Tiger approaching the parking lot of the Players, and you had a joke about him coming over to the Champs Tour. You got guys like Mickelson getting close to 50, and now you got Ernie Els coming on the tour. So that's another reason that, you guys are just going to want to stay sharp because you've got some younger guns, quote unquote, coming up and giving you guys a run. So what's your take on that? Do you think Phil will even come over?
Well, yeah. The question, I've tried to, you got to try to keep getting better because the players coming out are better. I mean, you look at Ernie Els, KJ Choi's coming out this year, mm-hmm. Tim Herron, Jim Furyk's turning 50, and then we got Mickelson turning 50. So you got to keep getting better because the guys coming out are younger and better. Mm-hmm. But I keep looking to Langer. I mean, that guy has just been an incredible force year in and year out. And he's 62 years old. So, I'm trying to kind of pattern my career a little bit after him just because he's played so well. And also Hale Irwin. I mean, my goodness, 45 wins on our tour. And he played great up until in his 60s. Yeah. So, we got Phil Mickelson turning 50. Phil's saying, well, I'm not playing. I'm not even thinking about that, blah, blah. Right. Phil's got to say that. Phil makes $50 million off the golf course. Right. He's not going to make $50 million off the golf course going to play the PGA Tour Champions and not play any more tour events. Sure. So he has to say that I'm not going to play. Now, whether he does or not over the next couple of years, I hope he comes and plays a couple and sees what it's like because there will come a time where he will not be competitive on the PGA Tour. Right. It has happened to everybody. Right. Whether it's at 52, 53, 54, there will come a time. And Phil being such a competitor, I mean, he loves to win, whether it's golf, ping pong, you name it. There will come a time where he will be like, all right, I can't compete anymore. This is no fun missing cuts out here on the PGA Tour. And he'll come out to the Champions Tour. And he'll love it and he'll embrace it. Sure. But again, I just don't think it's going to happen here in the next couple of years. He's just making too much money off the golf course for him to lose that to go play the Champions Tour.
No doubt. And as you said before, Father Time being undefeated, but where we're seeing now incredible advancements over the last couple of years in nutrition, fitness, overall, just, health, the way that guys are able to play incredible, very deep into their career. I mean, look at the same example, Phil. He's hitting the ball further than he pretty much ever has, and we've seen him transform his body recently. So is that something as a trend you see as well? You talk about everyone kind of playing at a high level on the Champions Tour. Do you feel like that has been an element in the Champions Tour as well, where guys are they're healthier, they're stronger than they've ever been on that tour before?
Well, I would say so. I mean, you look at the past, you look at Gary Player. I mean, he was kind of a leader in fitness for all those years. But again, there came a point where he couldn't play anymore on the PGA Tour, and he came over and had a very successful career on the Champions Tour. But I am seeing guys coming out on the Champions Tour ready to play, and I think a lot of that is it's very difficult to stay competitive, stay exempt and current on the PGA Tour from those 45, 46 to 50, because you're playing against 22, 23, 24-year-old kids who have nothing. They're not married. They don't have girlfriends. All they are doing is playing golf. We have marriages, unfortunately guys go through divorces. You have kids, they're going through college. You have a lot of other things going on besides just playing golf when you're in your 46 to 50 category. There's more distractions, period.
Yeah.
So a lot of those guys aren't as competitive in that time frame. So when they get to 50, they're chomping at the bit. They can hardly wait to turn 50, and they can hardly wait to go start playing a golf again. So I think they get themselves in shape, they get themselves ready, and they come out firing on all cylinders. Ernie Els, he's still been fairly competitive, but it's not like he's been a top 10 guy, all the time over the last couple of years. He's had his ups and downs. Tim Herron, who just came out, same. Tim's made cuts and done okay, but he hasn't been fully exempt out there. And it's just, you look at the guys, there's not a lot of guys that are able to stay exempt. So when they turn 50, they're ready to go.
Speaking, let's talk Tiger real quick. We're talking about a guy in his mid 40s and still, dominating sort of, he's, selling out TV screens everywhere. Golf is great. PGA Tour golf is great. Masters defending champ this year. Exciting times. So we're children of the 80s, Scott. We grew up when Tiger was in his prime. Tell us your favorite Tiger story from your career.
Yeah, Tiger, he's incredible. I was on tour for a couple of years before he came on the scene, and he came on the scene with the Hello World, and we're like, oh, this guy, we'll see what he can really do. Yeah. And then also we're like, holy cow! When I got to play with him early on, he hit the ball better than anybody I'd ever seen in my life. It was just, the sound was completely different, and I got to play a lot with him, and I got to the point where I just stopped watching because he would hit a shot and I'm like, I can't hit that shot, and then he hit another shot. I'm like, I can't do that. Yeah. Like, how am I supposed to beat this guy? It was incredible. And I got to travel with him a few times. Mark O'Meara and I were very good friends. We used to go to Ireland every year before the British Open, and Tiger and myself, Dave Duvall and John Cook, and we'd play golf and fish and just have a good old time in Ireland, just getting ready for the British Open. And one year, Duvall came in. We'd had a nice dinner, and we were kind of just relaxing. And Duvall came in from the States, and he said, all right, I'll be right back. And he came back with this huge case, and I kind of forgot, but Duvall was defending champion for the British Open, and he had the claret jug in this case. So we stayed up till, 2, 3 in the morning, Tiger and I and David and a couple of the security guard guys drinking out of the claret jug. We drank everything. Whiskeys and beers, and champagne. It was really cool. And then we had to we went and played golf at this Mount Juliet golf course where we were playing later in the year for the American Express. And Tiger's like, I can't play unless we have carts. So they had to ship in a couple golf carts, and Mark and Tiger and I and the guy JP McManus, we played in about an hour and a half with about 200 of the Mount Juliet members running behind us trying to watch every shot. It was one of the funniest scenes I'd ever seen. But Tiger's a great guy, and he's done so much for the PGA Tour and all of us players, just because he's such a great guy to watch and people are rooting for him, and arguably one of the best players who's ever lived.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure you guys were feeling pretty bad that day during that round after drinking all that.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we that's why we played so quick. We were a little hungover.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Scott, I want to wrap it up with a segment that we call Quick 9. It's our chance to ask you 9 rapid questions, and hopefully you'll respond to most of them. We can't force you to respond to all of them, but here we go. All right, number 1. Who's the coolest guy on the Champs Tour? Like, who would be your guy?
Well, I think one of my favorite guys to play with, and the guy I used to hang a lot with, was really one of my big brothers when I was on the PGA Tour, was Peter Jacobsen. Just one of the greatest guys. I mean, he can play golf, entertain, play guitar, sing, tell stories. He's taught me so much about how to do pro-ams, how to do pro-am pairings parties, how to host them, sponsor events. He's just been one of my best friends and one of the coolest guys, I think, that's ever played golf.
Absolutely. And he was on our show not long ago, and he was actually the host of the Arnold Palmer Invitational Pro-Am when we were fortunate enough to play it.
And he did do a tremendous
2018.
job. He makes everybody feel so welcome.
Yes, he's a great guy.
Yeah. He does. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Excellent. So number 2, who is the biggest ballbuster on tour? You probably got this one locked and loaded.
Well, yeah, by far the biggest ballbuster is Tom Gillis. It's not even close, hands down. If you don't follow him on Twitter, follow him. I mean, he is hilarious. Love that guy, and he is nonstop needling, practical jokes. And if you ever, which we did do a practical joke against him one time in Canada, and everyone was just repaid back tenfold by him. I mean, you just don't want to mess with him. I'm telling you what.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, Scott, what's your favorite non-golf activity when you're off course? What are you doing?
Well, now I live on a lake up here in Mooresville, Lake Norman, and so we got into wake surfing. Never done that before, and we bought a wake surf boat. And in the summers, when we're at home, my wife and I and a bunch of our friends go out every night and wake surf. It's that endless wave, and I was never a surfer growing up, and now I get to live out those fantasies wake surfing.
That's cool, real cool. Something I've never tried. What's that one stop on the Champs Tour that's on the schedule that you just can't wait to get back to every year?
Well, I think now that one of the stops everybody's looking at is going back to the Firestone Country Club, the Bridgestone Championship. It's our senior players, and to play Firestone, which is one of those iconic golf courses, which I got to play a few times during the old World Golf Championships in the NEC. Such a great track, and the people that came out and watched us last year were kind of the same people that used to come out and watch us play back in the tour days. So a lot of fun for us to go back there, and what a great golf town, what a great golf course.
Yeah, that's great. It has a lot of history there for sure. And speaking of the history that I'm thinking of is from the PGA Tour. All the times Tigers won there. What was it for the PGA Tour for you? I know you got to play Augusta a few times in your career. Would you put that on the list as your best favorite stop?
Well, yeah, I would say on the PGA Tour that was probably one of my most favorite tournaments playing. Was fortunate to play 6 of them. I always felt like if I was going to win a major, that was going to be the one that I had my best chance, and I certainly had some good chances there, and I loved playing there. It was just quite an experience, and I wish I could go back one more time. It's one of those that after I stopped playing, I got to actually go and announce. I was on the crew that started that whole DirecTV and the tablet stuff. So I got to go for 6 years and announce there, and that was actually quite a fun.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, Scott, number 6, dead or alive. Who are the 3 players in your foursome?
Yeah, my foursome, I'm going back to the people who kind of got me started in golf. And my dad, who's still alive and I get to play with every now and then when I go back to California. And then my grandparents, my Nana and Papa, who are both passed. And when I was a young kid, they used to take me out, the 3 of them really, and I used to play tons of golf with them. So I'd love to have one more round with them.
Yeah, that's cool. Real cool. What about reliving that one moment from your entire career over? What's that one you would just go back to over and over again?
Well, the one that I wish I could go back and know then what I know now would be the 99 Masters. On Saturday, I just birdied 11 to take the lead, playing in the final group with Jose Maria Olazabal, and Greg Norman was playing in the group in front of us and had lost the ball long of the green, and they took them 20 minutes to kind of figure out, try to find it, to come back and play. And so I stood on the tee after making birdie, and everybody cheering as I was walking up to the 12th tee, and I had to stay there for 20 minutes while Greg was going through everything that he was going through. And my mind was just started racing, the wind swirling, and, now you're leading the Masters and you're thinking about the green jacket, and it's still only Saturday,
Jeez,
halfway through the round. I just couldn't calm down by the time it got time for me to hit the shot. And unfortunately, I hit it long and lost and I planned to take it unplayable and come all the way back to the tee, and I had to make a triple bogey. And the triple was bad enough, but I didn't handle the triple well after. I let it get to me. I feel like I let everyone down. I feel like I let myself down. And I still had a lot of golf to play, and I played poorly coming in where, the triple's one thing, but I needed to come right back and get right back into what I was doing and make some birdies coming in. And I still would have given myself a chance. But unfortunately, that round, the end of the round, I didn't. And it cost me that Masters.
Yeah. Well, Scott, number 8 here. Who other than Scott McCarron, who's got the best swing on the Champions Tour?
Ooh,
who's
best
swing like butter out there?
There's so many guys. You go on the Champions Tour and you look up and down the range. It's not like the PGA Tour. There's a lot of different looking swings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, different finishes. Guys laid off. Guys across the line. Guys do it. All kinds of different ways. But the guy that I would say has probably got one of the sweetest swings. I still love watching him swing when he comes on the range is Larry Mize. Mm-hmm. His tempo and rhythm is just so pure. Mm-hmm. So, anytime I play with him or watch him swing, it always reminds me to have better rhythm and tempo.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like that. All right, Scott, last one here. Let's talk about friendly wagers on the golf course. What is the biggest, friendliest bet you ever lost out there?
Or one.
Yeah.
Or one, yeah.
Or one.
We have a group on the Champs Tour. We call it Tuesdays at 10. Every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, we play a Prex round. It's Brant Jobe, and I take on all comers, and we play against Kenny Tanagawa, Kent Jones, Glenn Day. We'll play fivesomes and kind of wheel it. And Brant and I last year, we won every single match all year long until Phoenix, the last tournament of the year, and Ken Tanagawa made a 70-foot eagle putt from the back of the green to beat us. The only time that they beat us all year, and I'm still mad about it. So that was probably that would be the one that I'm still thinking
nice.
of.
But then
you almost can't be too mad when someone beats you that way, straining a 70-foot eagle putt. I mean, that's hats off.
Oh no, I'm still mad. I'm still mad.
Well,
he's a great guy. We have this group. We have so much fun. Glenn Day is just hilarious. I mean, you got to bring a redneck dictionary to understand what he's saying, but he is one of the funniest guys ever. And Ken Tanagawa is one of the greatest guys I've ever played with. And Kent Jones has the driest sense of humor and is so funny. We just have an absolute blast every Tuesday. I have to admit, because of Tuesdays, I have so much fun and so relaxed, but it's so competitive. It's really got me ready to play every week. And I don't think I would have won the Schwab Cup and had such a great year without that group. We've been doing it for a couple of years now, and it's just been having a blast. So I appreciate those guys and what we've all been doing.
Excellent, Scott. Well, thanks for that. And what's your next stop? What's the next event for you?
Yeah, we're heading to Arizona for the Cologuard Classic at Tucson. And great old golf course that we used to play on the PGA Tour. A lot of fun. Kevin Conroy, Cologuard is just a great sponsor. Jerry Kelly's kind of like the unofficial host. We have some great dinners. We all stay right there on the golf course. A lot of fun. And then I get to go to Newport for a great tournament there and a lot of fun and get to be in California and see some of my old friends and my college buddies.
Well, that's great. Well, we wish you an awesome year. Go out there and back up 2019 with even more trophies. We know you're going to do it. We'll be rooting for you. And Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem, Scott.
Great chat.
Talk soon.
All right, what a chill
cool
guy,
man.
huh?
I want to meet him. I want to hang out. He just seems like a cool, down earth guy.
Yeah.
But I love his stories. And yes, he's been a baller on the Champs Tour. 11 wins since 2015. He came out of the gates swinging when he turned 50.
Yeah.
But real cool. Love some of the stories. What interests me the most is the thing he said about Jack Nicklaus saying his regret about not playing on the Champs Tour. And I think a lot of these guys who are on the PGA Tour might think like, I don't want to graduate to the Champs Tour because then I've kind of hung it up.
Right.
But this is almost just like, dude, I'm 50 now. I'm going to go play golf with my buddies.
Yeah.
Make some money. But
and play at a highly competitive level.
Exactly.
See, I had always kind of maybe naively thought of the Champions Tour as like a victory lap. It's just kind of like you go there to kind of like rest on your laurels of what you've done in the PGA Tour and just kind of whatever.
Just chill.
But remarkably, as he was describing, it is really competitive, and people they're performing at a higher level later and later into their life.
Correct.
At this point. So we've got, like I said, we've got those advancements in training, advancements in health, advancements in nutrition, all things that really Gary Player kind of pioneered in a lot of ways. And if you think Player was kind of the exception, not the rule back then, and it's since switched.
Correct.
Right? So many guys are doing that now. So I'll tell you what, it motivates me to catch a little bit more of the Champions Tour.
I know. I was actually just looking at the schedule to see if it was coming around here at all.
But look, big names, guys still, like I said, playing at a high level. And look, just even evidenced by his win there, it came down to the last shot and the playoff hole to win the Charles Schwab Cup. So from a viewership standpoint, what more can you ask for? What more drama can you ask for?
You really couldn't. And what's cool is he's got that video for life. And if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube and just type in Scott McCarron winning the Charles Schwab Cup. It's the video from inside the tent of him drinking the wine with Jimenez and all those guys and celebrating and jumping on each other.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall, prior to that going in.
I know.
And just what those guys were talking about and everything.
Yep.
But it was interesting too, because we only get to see a part of it, and we see now he looked so cool as a cucumber there, sitting there sipping his wine. What you don't see was, as he said, an hour before, he's out there sitting in the parking lot, and he's just like,
I lost this thing.
Right. So you don't see the stress that these guys are under. So it's cool when they give that insight.
Interesting game it is, huh?
Yeah, it is. All right, so that's everything we have. You guys can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 311, or as always in the Golficity app. Guys, if you haven't already downloaded the Golficity app, make sure you do so. It's 100% free, and every podcast is right there for you. You can go back to the beginning of time. They're all right there. Otherwise, as always, you can get the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and if you want to see the video version of that, it's going to be in the Golficity app as well as on YouTube and Facebook Watch. So we try to kind of put it wherever. This way you guys can kind of tune in wherever you prefer to tune in. Make sure you guys drop us a comment, subscribe, like, and if you're listening on iTunes, leave us a quick review. We always love to hear from you guys, and it really does help us make the show better by hearing from you guys. So that's everything we have, and we'll see everybody again next week.